everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Richard Lewis Show. And it's a bit of a strange episode, this one, because I am, of course, joined by HenryG. I don't need to introduce him. I'm sure you know who he is. Formerly of esports, as we'll talk about. But yeah, that's not why it's strange, although that might be strange enough, as we'll get to. But Sam's joining us for this one. You want to say hello? You are in the background,
hello,
Sam.
guys.
There he is, rating his takeaway right now. And the reason for that is we're going to talk about technology that my boomer ass apparently doesn't understand. So Sam's going to act as a translator, which is a
conduit of sorts, you know.
Yeah. Basically, he's like my sort of like guide through the world of right clicking and stealing NFTs. So
amazing.
Yes, we'll get it. So it's gonna be a weird episode. I've planned it out, but I reckon we'll certainly deviate. It's going to be approximately 50% esports, 50% NFTs. And we're going to try and weave it together in some sort of...
both very hot topics, Richard, if you don't mind me saying.
Yes, well, incredibly, yeah. I'm sure you do think that, don't you? Yeah, it's what the kids are talking about, Rich. Yeah,
it's going to be massive, I reckon.
Yeah, so let's start with the... It's not really an elephant. It's not even really a rhino, it's an animal, and it's in a room. And it is that, obviously, a lot of people have been clamoring for you to sort of come back. You had your stint as GM. People have been speculating about you coming back maybe to commentary. And I've tried to explain to people that, like, no, Henry's done his time in esports, and I don't think you're going to see him in the industry again. Am I misrepresenting you?
No, that's spot on, Richard. I guess I can definitively say now on the record, I've officially retired from commentary, at least. I'm not retired from esports. I'm not ruling that out. Like, ultimately, I want to come back and start an org. That's my next step. That's what I'd like to do. I guess a bit of an exclusive here. My idea, I want to bring back the Four Kings brand. That's my ultimate goal. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to bring that back and do a UK-focused esports org, do it properly. But you obviously need the funding to do that. And I guess for me, the reason I'm so definitive in the commentary statement there is because it's difficult to describe it. It's quite unique to me, I suppose. Like that, I felt like I completed like the casting game, as it were. I did everything you possibly could within esports, and especially with the climate we're in now. We're transitioning from the most hype industry in the world, filling arenas across the globe, and now compromised studio broadcast and watered down versions, and that's the foreseeable future. For me, it was just a good period of my time in my life, I should say, just to move on and start a new challenge. And that's something I've always done ever since I was 18. I guess like moving from professional gamer to event manager, commentator, and it's just like then to GM. Like I liked the GM kind of world, I suppose. I liked that role, but I guess we'll get into why that didn't work out as this interview goes on.
Well, yeah, that's indeed what I've done, you see. Yeah. I've tricked you.
I realized the trap I was in as I fell into it.
Yes, I've tricked you into it. What I've done is I've said, hey, Henry, want to come and talk about your new business venture so you can reach some kids? And really what we're going to do is just talk about Cloud9 and so I get my clicks because I'm a jaded hack journalist, you see.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I think it's important and I think people need to realize this, that, from the fan perspective, they think if you're good at something and you ascend to being in that very small subset of people who are truly excellent, as you did, obviously were recognized as such with a Caster of the Year award. People think, oh well, you'll just want to stay there forever, but it's like, I think for people that are kind of like motivated, it's like, what do I do next? And it's been like that for me. Remember, I was a caster. I mean, I wouldn't say I ever reached the heights, but I don't even know what the heights looked like back then when me and you were doing it. Probably if I'd stuck around, who knows? But then I was a GM too, and did that, ran orgs, then journalism, then hosting, and I'm kind of in that malaise right now where I'm thinking about what do I do next.
Yeah, I guess for me it's like I'm really happy with my body of work I've put out there, and being out of the game for so long as well. Like for me, that chapter of my life is just closed. I feel like there's people doing it better than I was. I definitely think I laid the foundations for some commentary style. Matt and I especially, I think we're trailblazers in some senses. And it's just like I'm happy with what's out there right now, and I just don't want to open that once again. I feel like that challenge is completed, and it's time to move on. And I feel like I have to be so definitive with it and tell people it's over. Otherwise, I'll just keep asking. Like, I must have had thousands of people tagging me in all these announcements. Like, saying, like, where's Henry? I was like, why were you expecting me to be there? I don't get it. Like, I've told you I'm retiring. I keep saying it.
Well, the major was the big one, right? I mean, people were even hitting me up saying, Richard, because they think I run the fucking show when I'm a host, right? So I've had people message me like crazy stuff. Will you do a segment about this? Like, mate, I read off an auto cue and I ask questions. That's it. Like, I'm not that important.
Yeah,
you know.
Like,
but loads of people were hitting me up saying, "Oh, get Henry to come back." I'm like, "Yeah, all right then."
They hit me up like months ago. PJ asked me if I was interested, if I could like, consider it, and like I had to say to them like, I don't want to start like laying a precedent down. Like, oh, I'll come back for the special ones. I'll come back for the glory. Like, it should be reserved.
Yeah, only a cunt would do that, right? Only some sort of narcissistic cunt would come back for the big ones. Yeah, you're right on that, mate.
I'm just like, my thing is like, I don't want to come back and I have no intention of following it through. So I'm just like, I don't want to come back and just like, oh, I'm here for the big one. Give me the final and I'll peace out. There's certain people who are better than me, I think, doing it now and working really fucking hard. So like, they deserve it after the circuit they've been through, especially the studio broadcast ship. Like, I did it in the first period of COVID, when 2020, and that's a fucking grind. We did 40 days straight with no breaks, all living in the same house in Germany. Like, it's been a rough ride. So yeah, like, definitely a big shout out to the guys still going at it. Like, the duos we have in CSGO right now are pretty solid.
Yeah, look, this is probably going to come out while I'm at the major. Obviously, for the purposes of people watching now. We recorded this before the major, but it's the future now. So hello.
Yeah.
But I got to say, I mean, I kind of made my views known. I was a little bit. It kind of sucks for the people that were like the custodians of the scene during COVID, that were doing stuff like that. That were, I mean, like you say, I don't want to single anybody out. You say, I use Harry and Hugo as an example. I'm not using Lourdes and Scrawny as an example. All I'll say is all the people that were custodians of the COVID era were doing mad shit. They were like cooped up in houses and couldn't travel and had to spend time away from friends. They all got nostrils that had been like fucking, rammed because of all the testing you have to do. And
I will say, I agree with you. I think those four people should be at the major. Like, they're not, are they? Those four people.
No.
Yeah, that's a big curry. Considering if people say, who would you replace? Like, sorry to be rude, I could tell you a few people I could replace for them. Like, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
like, they deserve to be there. I agree.
Yeah, and obviously it's not just that. It's like, it's all the hosts and the interview. It's not just commentators, although they get a lot of the focus. It's like, we've been 2 years without a major. Most of that's been spent in COVID, and like I say, the people that had to work, the people that worked, religiously through that era, put in a sort of, it's a different level of grind than what we were used to back in the day. So. Yeah, it's sad. I probably shouldn't say this while I'm at the major. Might release this after the major now because I'm a coward, right? But then they can't do anything, can they? So this might be well in the future, boys. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, for me,
the major might have been cancelled after this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like, even happen. So.
Right. Put it this way: if the day after this comes out, Freya's on the broadcast instead of me, they brought her back in to do that, and you just never see me again. It was this that did it. But no, I mean, I'm glad as well. Obviously, Freya was like another oversight. Definitely. Yeah, yep. She hosted all those events, and then she's
amazing. She's great. Yeah. Really, really good.
Yeah. So but I'm still looking forward to it. Obviously, I mean, it's definitely what we need right now. I think for CS, I'm just going to do everything in my power to make it entertaining.
I was going to come down.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the problem is of launching the bloody mushrooms, aren't I? So I can't make it.
You are launching the mushrooms.
Bloody mushrooms, lads.
You are launching the mushrooms.
I was trying to weigh it up. I was like, okay, if I came down to the major, it'd be great to see everyone, but it would just be a big piss up every single night and me just going out and wouldn't really be productive. So I thought to myself, I'll come to the next one when it's not so difficult to travel, etc.
Well, the next one will be in Brazil, so I won't be there.
Won't be going there probably.
Yeah, so but we'll be watching it.
1 hour flight, I'd go for it. Sure, that's my effort, but
yeah. But no, I mean, it'd be good. I am looking forward to seeing everybody in person again, even though it's against this really strange backdrop of, I haven't been out I haven't traveled since COVID started. Well, I traveled to leave America, basically. And then that was it. Like, I fled the country, essentially.
You did that at the peak of COVID, didn't you?
Yeah. That was wild, mate. I mean, I saw scenes at airports. That was like a fucking apocalypse movie. They were like,
I haven't seen anything too crazy. I've traveled a lot. Like,
I was in Texas. I flew out of Texas. So, you know, everyone's crazy in Texas, right?
True.
You know? So, yeah, it was, you know, I was trying to get on a plane and there was like, you know, big guys, big thick neck guys. I ain't wearing no mask, motherfucker. I was like, oh, please, like, just let me on this.
I tell you what, the one godsend of all of this is just being the fact that people have caught all of these moments on film and the Karen videos on YouTube now, the highlight compilations. God, it's some of the best TV you can watch like ever. So, yeah, definitely check those out. I love watching that stuff, just seeing how mad the world is going every single day. Good Lord.
So this is it, Henry, right? The foreplay is completed.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, good. No, I can tell.
I'm ready.
So obviously you completed commentary. We talked about that. And one of your next challenges was you decided to become a general manager of a very popular North American esports organization called Cloud9. And they were in the process of rebuilding a team after a period of flux where I think they'd had players that honestly weren't really of the caliber you would associate with, you know, a squad that won a major in 2018. Yep. So let's start at the beginning. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise. Obviously, less so your mates that sort of knew you were looking for a job like that. Let's talk about just how it sort of all came about and what was agreed upon as you went in.
Honestly, it was Duncan that hooked the whole thing up. I was asking him for advice and kind of knowing he was involved in Flashpoint at the time. That GM was becoming a more of a role that was viable in esports generally, not so much CSGO, and it was like something that was kind of being explored. We had no big names doing that role, but we had some people behind the scenes that were doing it. So for me, it was just like I wanted to like bring that role to the forefront and like explore it properly, use my personality, my brand to kind of make that a real thing in the CSGO scene. So I was asking Duncan like what he thought I could do, like how I can announce I'm looking for those sort of opportunities. And like I said, because he was involved with Flashpoint, obviously so at Cloud9, they had a spot at the time. He sent a message out to the Slack group and just said like that anyone's looking for a new GM, like Henry's up for it. Basically, that was
he's up for it, lads.
He's up for it. Then I got speaking to Dan Fiden pretty much instantly. Like he snapped up the chance to explore the idea. And like you said, the team at that point was hitting dire straits. They only won a single map on LAN. They're a good team. Like, don't get me wrong. Those group of 5 players, like they're a solid squad, but their inconsistency is what haunts them. You probably saw recently Extra Salt failed to qualify for anything from North America after being on red hot form at the start of the year, right? Like May, around that time, they were in red hot form, looking really good. And unfortunately for them, their inconsistencies like are really kind of difficult to invest in. Like it's difficult. And me, when I was brought into the organization, they said they wanted a top 10 team and they'd ideally like Astralis players to be part of it. Like they wanted a star-studded roster, you know, they wanted players that could bring the hype back to life. Like because bear in mind, like I said, they're a good little team, but you have no big players in that Extra Salt lineup, right? They've got no big names, no one really big followings. Like this is not there. Like however good they are, even if they're winning all the trophies without a following, it's still difficult to do much with that. They wanted a star-studded roster. And bear in mind, this was just when COVID we thought was over. We thought we were kind of out of it. This is like November 2020. We thought it was done. Like UK hadn't announced a second lockdown or anything like that. Everything was looking pretty good. I was told verbatim, Flashpoint is happening on LAN up until December. So yeah, if we were planning, the whole plan was we'll have a European team, but they have to be based out of LA. We have to move all 5 players, including myself. That was part of my deal as well. Part of my contract is the whole squad has to be based out of Santa Monica near the Cloud9 offices. And let's just explain why that's important, why that's such a big deal, because for some reason, everyone on Reddit and Twitter seems to know exactly how this all works and how the money's made and why it's spent. They pretty much don't. So let's just break down the economics here, why it's important to have your team on your doorstep so you can actually work with them in a physical manner. So let's think about this. We've got all these teams and all this organization, there's sponsors, there's money being invested, you want to get the most out of them, right? So the idea is having them on site. You can work out of the office every day. You're treating it like a job. You can access the facilities. Like Cloud9 have amazing facilities, the best in the world, really, to be honest with you. They have on-site gym, personal trainers, sports psychologists, a media team, all on site. And the idea is they can get a return on their investment once we start producing that sort of content in a really efficient manner. The whole planet, every player agreed to move to LA, and that was kind of the setup there. So that's a bit of like context, I guess, moving forward. But then at that point, so we made the European team. We, in my opinion, on paper, that original squad was really good. Like, it had everyone delivered as I expected them to. I feel like that team was deadly, and I feel like they got a bad rap, that five, unfortunately. Like, we started off with Flashpoint, like you mentioned, and we opened up against Virtus Pro. We ended up losing to them in overtime, and then 16-14. Like, and that was before that team was kind of unearthed as the world's best. They went on to be #1 team in the world shortly after that. And of course, everyone shat on us for that, and we crashed out of Flashpoint. But it was a compromise event. The reason I said we were going to go there to win that event, that everyone seems to forget in the context of when we talk about this shit.
Well, those teams weren't there, right?
Well, exactly. Those teams were never supposed to be there. It was supposed to be a very lackluster lineup, and it was about 2 weeks before that Fnatic, Big, Virtus Pro, OG all got added. So way after my kind of bravado that I brought in that one interview, and I did truly, I believed it. I did, like, we could be those teams. Like, and it's on LAN, that's where people choke. And bear in mind, a year and a half ago, we weren't even talking about online CS. We wouldn't even consider it worth our time. Even like your podcast, Rich, you guys would say it's just online CS. We don't even cover it. Astralis hadn't even played an online game for a year and a half before COVID. People fucking forget that. It's bullshit that the results are not the same. It's not comparable to LAN CS. And I think we all know that now, because you don't seem to care when teams win these online cups, and rightly so, because it doesn't matter. It's cool to keep the scene going, and I appreciate it's compromise. Everyone's doing what they can, but essentially the purest Counter-Strike players know there's no prestige about the LAN honors. Like, you need to be doing it there. So for us, the reason I made those statements was because I knew the team we had was a decent LAN team. Woxic especially, he would fuck people up at LAN. Like, he doesn't get phased out. He gets distracted and jaded online, and that's something we knew going into it. And we took a gamble. We took an absolute gamble, thinking that COVID was done. We'd be on LAN. And bear in mind, I had to start signing big names. He was a number 12 player in the world in 2019, the year before we did this. And he was lights out, so good in our boot camp, our first meetup. He was our best player by far. Everyone loved him. And unfortunately, like, his enthusiasm and kind of performance was suffering when we moved into an online capacity. Like, he was playing from Turkey on like 90 ping, 4 hours ahead of everyone else. And it was just really difficult. Like, I get it. Like, he really wasn't enjoying himself, and it was difficult with a new team, new coach, like new manager, and a whole new setup. And we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even travel to a boot camp once we had the initial one, because everything was shut down. So, like, the changes we did have to make to the team and stuff like that early on, people can criticize them as much as they want. Trust me, we didn't take those lightly. They were decisions that had to be made, and it was either rest on our laurels and let opportunities slip by with new players and not be ready for next tournaments, or we make the decision and move on. We made the decision as a team, and that's what we did with every single one of those early decisions. Like, if there was a problem internally, or like a personal the two players or anything like that, we try our best to solve it. If I felt like it couldn't be resolved and the players were all telling me one thing, then we'd have to pull the trigger. There's no point having 4 unhappy campers there.
Just before we get into some of the specifics, I mean, overall, one of the big criticisms that was leveled at you from the community, prior to the results, prior to even a serious match being played, was, oh, look at Henry, he's making it all about him. He's tweeting endlessly. People suddenly were insulting you for the Colossus thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Flashpoint tweet, it just gets brought up, and was brought up repeatedly. Like, why should Henry put all this pressure on his own team? It's this is terrible management.
The pressure was already there. I wanted to make it clear when players were signed, like, you're signing for the New York Yankees of esports. That's like kind of the deal I was signing for them. We're willing to pay you the big money, and you're going to get the best rates in the scene right now. But you have to perform, and you have to work under this sort of pressure. Like, that's the deal if you want to play for Cloud9. In my opinion, if you want to play for that prestigious level and play for that sort of organization, you have to be able to handle the heat. And some people can't, unfortunately. Some people, it is too much. And I tell them, don't go on social media. If you can't handle the heat, don't go on social media. Don't read your DMs. Turn the DMs off. And they can't help themselves. They have to keep the DMs on. They have to see people like they post all these screenshots of people saying horrible things to them. Just turn the DMs off, mate. Just turn them off. Turn your mentions off. I did it years ago. You'll live a much happier life. And it just felt like, in terms of like psychology, it was just like a difficult team in general to set up. Like, and just to talk on the reaction to my character, like, bear in mind, like, I'm an entertainer. Like, that was my job beforehand. Like, I was trying to bring a bit of fun into the mix. I was trying to use the skills I have, which is being entertaining, which is having a bit of bravado, which is a bit of hubris behind it as well. You know, like, I am confident in what I do. I consider myself to be if I challenge myself to something, I want to be the best at it. I want to give it 100% of my energy. I don't half bake my ideas. I want to make sure I do everything thought out. And the idea behind this was I wanted to still continue to be a figurehead of the scene, but in this new capacity. So I wanted to almost be like a WWE sort of heel, you know, like I was the idea. I wanted to be a little bit hated. I wanted to kind of, if we were winning, it was difficult to poke holes in it, and we're losing, fair enough, like body is, whatever. But they just felt like that was the vibe between the community and I to begin with. That was like, oh, when we were having some good results, we had some really good results. People forget that as well. We took down some great teams, and our rivals' complexity never lost them. We played 5 maps against them, we didn't drop one. You know, like we had some really good games, some exciting moments. And I think people are kidding themselves. They say we weren't an exciting team to watch, and we had a lot of potential. It's just, if you ask me, we just didn't have enough runway. Like, from all the compromises I've talked about, mainly COVID not allowing us to relocate to LA. Bear in mind, if we can't go to LA, we're useless to the organization. We can't provide them any value because we're just doing webcam content for them, and we can't actually be part of the facilities. We can't access any of the staff. They're 9 hours behind us, and we're all living in Serbia. Like, it's such a shit situation. Like Serbia is great, but like during lockdown, when you're all in this tiny apartments, and I'm out there living with them as well. Like, bear in mind, I moved to Serbia with the boys for 5 months. Like, people say I didn't care, or I wasn't as invested as a team, or throwing them under the bus, whatever. I was there every step of the way with them, living in Serbia, managing them physically every single day, making sure they had everything they needed for every official, bringing them their lunch, all that sort of bullshit that an intern would do. I was doing all of that. I had no support staff. It was no managers working with me. I was just HenryG, the players, and that was it. Like, unfortunately, that was fucking it. And I'm fine with that. I was an event manager for 10 years. Like, that's my specialty. People management, project management, deadlines, not a problem. That's why people hire me. They paid me a lot of fucking money there. Like, I was fine to do it there. But yeah, I feel like people hated the idea that someone was confident for some reason. I feel we've got so used to the character, the fucking wet paper bags that are on Twitter right now, too scared to show a bit of confidence. And I think Carlos does it really well. He's found like his persona, right? He can get away with it because he's Carlos, but no one else thinks they have like the kind of, I don't know, the accolades or the CV to be like that. And I felt like I did. I felt like I've bled for this scene. Counter-Strike's been part of my life every single day since I was 14 years old, you know. And I feel like I have got in a position where I can be confident in what I do, and I'm happy with the decisions I made. I appreciate they didn't work out mostly, but like, it was a very compromised situation with mitigating circumstances that were just well out of my control, mainly a global pandemic that stopped us from moving to the offices where we're actually working. Like, nothing was working out. Like, every single player had to be on a freelance contract. The idea was when we got to LA, we were all going to be employed properly, you know. Like, it was just, everything was just such a nightmare. And I had to put all the residential apartments in my name, for example, and stuff like that. It's just because they didn't have any offices in Europe, so we couldn't properly do it. It's just like, everything was so difficult and so compromised. There was just no way out. We still, if we had held on, even up until now, that ended in what, May, we still couldn't have gone to America. Like, so it was a justified cutting of the cord. Like, it's not, as much as no one wants to admit that, from a company point of view, and you have to protect the company in these sort of climates, like, it was the right call to make. Like, you guys treated the team like absolute fucking shit. Like, sorry, but you did. And it was just a really bad look. Like, the fact it was so difficult already, we're trying so hard, and it was just online CS. We couldn't even get a boot camp. Bear in mind, the UK was the actual hub of red alert travel, right? You couldn't get out. We had two. We couldn't get Messi anywhere. We couldn't get
I remember saying as well on like the podcasts and stuff, and people were like, this is just Richard defending his mate HenryG. I'm like, I don't think people realize that outside, once the Woxic component of the team broke apart, when Zeppa comes in, these guys never met. They were like
never met.
The team had never met each other. Yeah.
Like, how mad is that? That's how much opportunity we got. He never even got to meet his new coach. We had a coach in Australia who was 12 hours ahead. We're all online. Like, everything's fucked. We're like all bleeding and dying for this, trying our best to like make this happen. While every other fucking team, Richard, gets to boot camp. And I'm not saying like woe is us, whatever. It was just like we just got really unlucky having UK players. Same for Endpoint. We were trying to get the Pro League. Like, it was. We couldn't get there. We couldn't move anywhere. We couldn't boot camp. Like, we couldn't physically do a boot camp. And every other team had that opportunity. And we just got super fucking unlucky. It was really frustrating. I was spending all of my time.
Chat calling. Stop giving the game away, you cunt.
I was spending all of my time just like trying to find solutions, and it's like it was just getting to the point where it's like, guys, there's nothing, like we can't boot camp, we can't find anywhere. These people would take us, but we can't get a British player past this point. You might not be able to return to France, Alex, because Paris is shut down as well. It was just a nightmare. And with like things not going well, honestly, I was a bit relieved. Like, it felt like, you know what, this is probably the right call for everyone. We'll cut it cleanly and everyone can move on, and I will take the fucking egg on my face as usual. Everyone can blame me and everyone else can go on to their news things, and I'll be remembered as
well. So there's a couple of parts. I'll just bring them up in order, and you can just say whatever you want to say about them. But these are the big community questions, I guess. So the first is missing out on Nico and Hunter, and they ended up at G2. There was a lot of people saying, you know,
missing out on it. Like, where
that's how it's framed. That's how it's framed.
So, like, again, I don't know how people think money works. It's not an infinite supply. I had about a $1.5 million budget, right, to build the team for 1 year. That was the budget. Like, to get G2 wanted Nico as well, right? That was already actively happening. Because we had Kassad, obviously they're very close, Nico, Hunter, Kassad. There was a conversation if we could have somehow worked out from FaZe that we get Hunter as well from G2 and Nico, then they'll both join. That was the only way they would have both joined, if I signed both of them separately and somehow allowed Carlos. Why would Carlos ever allow me to take Hunter away? Like, why would he ever do that when he wants him? He specifically wants this piece over here that I'm trying to get. It's just, it wasn't, no one was ever going to let me do it. Like, Nico and Hunter were both down for it. They loved what I was doing. I don't think I've mentioned this. Like, most players you know and love in the top 10 were gagging to join us at the start. They loved what we were doing, and they understand like we've got a little bit fucked over in terms of the situation. Like, most players like were hitting me up and trying to find ways to get out of their contracts and join Cloud9. They saw the progress we are making for players, I think. Anyway, to get back to that, like, I tried my best in terms of the buyouts. Like, as you can imagine, were astronomical, double whatever I paid for the clowning, the ones I get clowned for all the time. But like, that's not a solution. Look at G2 now. Would you say they're absolutely smashing and world dominating with all the changes they've made? Got rid of all the dead weight. Apparently, they've got the dream team of Hunter and Nico. Has it made them the world's best team? No, it hasn't. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed success. You have to, there's so many different things to like kind of understand to make a successful Counter-Strike team, and it takes time and land kind of hours under your belt, and we just didn't get any of that. We ran out of runway, and I admit I definitely costed some of that with the bravado and some of the confidence, like and opening the door for criticism early. But I'm not gonna stop being who I am and dilute my personality and the way I am and my passion for the game just because some people don't like it. Like, they obviously never played competitive sport. They don't know what it's like to want to win and have nothing else is more important to you. And like, part of the game is to mind games as well. Like, that every team that played against us was like, fuck, we don't want to lose to the Colossus. Like, fuck this. And if they lose, we lose to them. Like, it's part of the fucking game, boys. Like, every sports team will do it. The big players will do it on Twitter. They'll do it in their after interviews and stuff. There's always a bit of banter, and you're always trying to get in their heads. And it was just strategy, But yeah, Nico and Hunter, there was a million different players. Like, I could have I handed contracts to that could have happened, but it just, like, for a million different reasons as well. Like, it's so complicated to get one of those deals over the line. This wasn't possible. Like, it would have blown our budget out the water just to get Nico in. And I guess that's something else I don't talk about. Is like, if people actually did publish their budgets and their payrolls, like, for the players, I was barely knocking on the door of the top 5, barely. Like, I would have been like 7th, I think, in terms of my payroll, especially with Zeppa and Floppy there. We all know they.
Well, that was another part of it, and that was obviously one of the other things that I read from the community, like, kind of en masse. you know, which was the running joke between us two was, you know, $20 million for this, right? Was that, you know, by publishing the payrolls and showing how much people were being paid and no one else was doing it, essentially it looked like you were overpaying by default. And especially when you had a player like Esatag, who had only just really broken through at Astralis, and you're publishing this big financial number for him. Same with Alex. And it's not big comparatively to some of the others out there, but it looks big because it stands alone.
It's the top end for sure. It's the top end, but it's by no means the highest. Like, take it from me as someone who's negotiated with every single player, whether the deal got signed or not. I've spoke to all your favorite players and had contract negotiations with them. And that is pretty standard, especially if they've got a good agent. Those agents won't let them sign for anything that's like they get a slice of that money, right? Like once you're in a negotiation, the player might want to join for a reasonable fee, but the agent just won't sign it unless like they get the money that they know those players are worth. Especially players like Alex, like in-game leaders. Tell me who else we could have got at that time that didn't like. Alex is a good friend of mine, an in-game leader, a great player. Like, why wouldn't we sign him? And that was the market at that point. We bought in at the. It wasn't my decision to buy into that market. I got hired as GM and I asked to make a new team. We didn't know the bubble was about to burst on salaries and CSGO in general and esports as a whole. Like a big downtrend in the whole market. And we bought in at the worst possible time. So it did look a bit silly when players were getting removed from orgs and NA was retreating from CS when we had all this money invested. It's like, yeah, it looked a bit silly. And I appreciate that. It looked a bit silly. But that's just unfortunate. Like I didn't pitch the idea of them to bring me in and we'll do this amazing stuff. I was asked to be GM and given the task of like a top 10 team for Flashpoint, which was, I got signed in November, Flashpoint started in December. So like, I appreciate like people can criticize and there's always room for criticism, but please like understand that 2 months in any industry, any role, starting out fresh as a new project, that's fucking insane to try and pull it off. And I'm still proud of the marketing we did, the lineups we got out there, and the team spirit we showed and actually making it work and getting to Serbia and everyone just kind of pulling together, getting through our online games and not causing a fuss when we couldn't boot camp. Everyone gave it their all. We didn't get the results we needed, and that sucks. It came down to one map in the end. I was told before that Pro League qualifier, I was the only person in the world that knew if we didn't make the playoffs there, we were getting removed. Like imagine carrying that weight around. Like I'm the one who's responsible for finding them a boot camp for this big tournament. They don't even know they're on the cutting block at this point. And I've got to be the one, like, I can't even find them a boot camp. I've got to break that news to them, knowing if they don't win this group, they're done. That's it. And they couldn't even get a boot camp for their final hurrah. They couldn't even have a fair crack of the whip. Like everyone else, every other team of that tournament was at boot camp. We're the only ones that won. And it just fucking sucked. And we lost 16-14. We choked against MIBR, if you remember. I think.
I do remember.
It was that one map, and we had a 15-12 lead, I think it was, and we choked it. No, it was 14-12 lead. We choked, and we gave it up. If we won that game, we might still be going in Cloud9. I don't know. We would have stayed in New York for at least a couple of more months. But yeah, that's the kind of stress I'm carrying around, and I'm trying to deal with all that. And I'm going on Reddit, and the mods are allowing Fred to say, "Let's all laugh at HenryG and Cloud9." It's just like, so you don't.
Was made by people with Cloud9 flair, by the way.
Categorically says in your rules that chanting's not allowed. But to laugh at someone specifically and make fun of them and their failures, that's okay. That's relevant to the CSGO community. They had like 17,000 upvotes or some shit like that. It's like, cool. But like in a way, like I kind of proved what I was doing. Like the marketing was supposed to ruffle feathers and supposed to annoy people. I just didn't think they'd react in that sort of way and take so much pleasure in people losing their jobs and things fucking up for like hardworking people. I don't know why people took so much satisfaction in that. They claim themselves to be CSGO fans. Cloud9 leaving is a big fucking deal for your game. Cloud9 removing themselves is a really big deal, and you guys contributed to that by being dickheads. So sorry, but like I find I have a really kind of like, I'm a little bit bent out of shape when it comes to CSGO fans. They asked me to come back to their major and stuff like that. I appreciate it wasn't everyone, but it's like, I will not be coming back. Like the way you treated those players, the way you treated me, like people that were trying to make CSGO exciting again, people are trying to bring it back to life, like, you know, a different approach. Like you made it as difficult as possible, and you just shit on us the entire way, including on the way out. And I don't know. I feel like I'm glad to be out of it. I'll be honest with you. I'm glad to be out of esports for now. I don't know if I'll be done forever. Like I said, I think I want to do my own org if I can in the future, but that's the only way I can come back. I want to have my own autonomy. I'm sick of working for other people. I'm sick of being told what to do or telling being scared to tell the world I smoke weed, for example, because I might lose the sponsors or some bullshit like that. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah.
So like being able to work with myself and do my own thing, that's what I'm happy with. Like, so I'm in a better position now.
Just as a couple of last questions then on the esports stuff. Specifically, was there any, aspect of it where you felt let down? Because one of the things that I thought was kind of weird. Well, no, it's not that I thought it was weird. I understand the mechanics that are at play here, but everybody blamed you for everything, but there was other staff kind of between you and so
yeah,
we had Kassad.
Yeah.
So Kassad pieced out on the project very early to go and make a lot of money working with the players that he's known for a long time over at Extremum. And then obviously you bring in Mix. I never saw anyone criticize him for any failures of the team.
No one ever will, because I'm an easy target because I have the big following and I was the one who was confident. And people don't want to actually be logical and talk about the coaching staff or anything like that. And I'm happy to take the blame. I really don't care, Richard. I've got pretty thick skin after all these years. Like, I'm definitely a bit pissed off how it went down, but it doesn't upset me. I don't lose any sleep over anything like that. Like, these are all anonymous people on the internet that don't know me, who go take hours out of their day to talk about me. It's like that. If that's what they choose to do at the time, that's fair enough. But not recognizing the basic landscape of sports in general, knowing the coach is probably responsible just before I am, like, especially when everyone's super hyped about the lineup and it all makes sense on paper. Like, I don't know. And I'm not blaming Kassad. I feel like it wasn't a tactical thing. It was a problem with him. It was a personal. The relationships weren't amazing. Like, his approach was a bit more old school like mine, telling people when they fucked up and like not expecting them to get upset with that. And it didn't really work out. And he had the opportunity to go work with the boys again. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out either, given the recent news. But that's where he felt like it was going to be better for him, and that's fair enough. I love Kassad. I think he's a fucking great guy.
Same. Top bloke every time I've met him and stuff. So, and then I guess that sort of the final question about it all that I think will sort of generally cover everything is going to be that the exit from CSGO for Cloud9. I mean. It was always, there was this weird backdrop where, like you say, other orgs were pulling out and everything. A lack of success obviously contributed to that. I don't think it was the be all and end all, honestly. I think even had you had a deeper run at that Pro League event, maybe one or two events after it, kind of felt to me that, look, I don't want to criticize Jack or Cloud9 or anything too fiercely.
No, you don't. I
felt, I felt there was a little aspect of setup to fail, because when you rebuild a Counter-Strike team from scratch, essentially, it's got to be a long-term project. And you guys were given a very small amount of time in a very strange time to do it. It kind of almost felt like they were looking for a little bit of an excuse, especially when things weren't going so well. I mean, do you have any insight into the organizational aspect of it and whether or not you think they'll be back somewhere down the road? Because remember, everything they said in the build-up was, CS is essential to our plans. It's a huge part of our identity. And then it's like, by the way, we are pulling out. Like, we won a major in 2018 and we don't even have a team 3 years later.
It's a very, it's a difficult one to answer. I know they mean it when they said they'll consider it in the future, but why would you? Because unless it returns to NA, they'll have the same problems they had with us. Like, it doesn't make sense. To have a European team, you need another GM, you need managers, you need infrastructure in Europe. You can't you need to, the freelance contracts were a temporary compromise until we got the full-time employment contracts. That couldn't happen until we're in California. You can't be a full-time employee unless you're in California.
Yeah.
So I would say it's nice of them to suggest they'll reconsider it, but it means that NACS has to come back. This major has to go really well. LAN CS coming back in general. A lot of things would have to happen for that to be a possibility. I don't think it's impossible. I would love to see them come back to it. It's a difficult job, but one that's definitely possible. They've got amazing resources. Jack and Dan are smashing it. They're very smart business people, and that's why I don't resent anything that happened there. Like, I would do the same thing. Like I said, it's a business, and you have to understand. Like you've seen the money that's being published. That's just like a fraction of the money that's kind of involved in running an organization. Like, you have to be very careful with all the budgets. And there's a game that doesn't make sense for you and it's dying out or in a rough patch, and you're looking to save money and invest in something else, like Valorant, for example. Obviously, that was their move. They kind of invested more of the cash over there. it makes sense because they've got a huge leagues coming up with franchises and stuff in Valorant. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff they want to pursue. Where's the longevity in CSGO right now, especially at that point? What are you looking at? Like, you either take the bad PR for a week and everyone moves on their lives, or you keep dumping money into something that's not making sense for you. So no hard feelings with Jack and Dan. Spoke to them since. Like, there was no bad feelings at the time. I was happy to like exist their call. Like, if they weren't happy, then it's absolutely fine. I agree with you. I thought like we did get a raw deal, and
I think so too, man. You know, I really do.
But so not to like and at the same time I get it. Like, just to be clear that.
Yeah, but so last question, and then we're going to talk about right-clicking JPEGs, right?
Yeah.
For me, and that means, Sam, you have to rear into life and guide me through. So, you know, one of the trends that I've noticed that's happening quite a bit actually is there are a lot of people that are just piecing out of esports, not even making big announcements, like just they're working in that now. And in you know, these are like high level motherfuckers, and I think, I think we
a few of them.
Yeah, I think we've got a problem that we're not really talking about. I've started a bit of a brouhaha recently over in the Dota community because it's so fucking typical of Dota and how everyone walks on eggshells over there. It takes me to sort of come in and like say, no, your scene fucking sucks and you treat all your talent like shit. And they're going, no, we don't. And then all the talent come out and going, yeah, you do actually. Like, and they're having to sort of reconcile that. But I think we've got a big problem in esports where the fans, you know, they're their own worst enemy. They drive out competent and passionate people and sort of, you know, stand by and support very often the most cynical beneficiaries of the scene. And I kind of think you're indicative of this new trend where it's like, it's very
not worth it, mate. Sorry, it's just not worth the stress.
Well, yeah. So talk me through that.
I don't know. It just felt like, in terms of like, I've been well off for a while, you know, like money is not that important to me at this point. So like, it's a high paying job and it's glitz and glamour. You get to be the center of attention. You get to be on broadcast, and that's super cool. But at the same time, I just found it very empty. It felt like whatever I did, it felt like people would like, I gotta poke holes in everything you do. They're going to find a way to try and sabotage you. They don't like people, for some reason, don't like seeing people do well or enjoying what they do in esports, especially. They have to try and make it out to be something it isn't, or like claim to know me, or say things like I always do this, or like just they talk about me. Like, I read these threads, like they talk about me, they've met me, or they know my actual personality outside of CSGO. It's like, you motherfuckers, you don't know me at all. Like, I am a persona. HenryG and Henry are different people. My commentary, my GM, like, that's not me. You can't make comparisons about me as a person, what you see on Twitter and what you hear on Reddit. Like, it's just not fair. And I feel like I feel sorry for people that are truly famous. Like, I get it. I can see why they lose their minds and people don't want to be part of that machine anymore, because you're essentially selling your soul to the devil, having your public life public, having everyone talking about you, judging you for everything. Like, and it turns you into a bit of a weirdo as well. The vanity that comes out of it, like, you start obsessing about the way you look. You start like worrying about like how cool you are, the clothes you're wearing. Like, oh, have I got perfect skin going into this? Fuck, I need to get a facial. Someone's going to comment on this. So I look too tired. It's just
I'll give you a fucking facial, mate.
You turn into fucking Patrick Bateman, dude. And it's just like,
I know, right?
That's where I was at. I had to do an LSD trip to even unearth that I was turning into Patrick Bateman. I had to like have a kind of awakening of my third eye to realize my life was bullshit, and all I cared about was money and status and what people were talking about me online, and then realizing those things are the least important in the world. And in fact, they're actually a burden. For me, I was just like, this is the chance for me to get out of this spotlight that I found myself in for the last 5 or 6 years since I took on full-time commentary. And it just felt like, yeah, I feel my absolute best version of myself in the last 6 months since I left Cloud9 and I took that sabbatical. Like, if you're ever in a position to do that in a career or an industry or whatever, you need a break, I can't recommend it enough. Like, it allowed me to get some clarity, some focus about all the things I just spoke about, and to kind of reconnect with people that are important to me, realizing that the opinions of those strangers, the anonymous people, is not important. It's there's the homies, the inner circle, the people that look out for you and have your back, and all the boys and the talent they have. Like, you know, they've always been looking out for me. I still live with Alex. Chad's is down the road, and like those boys are my family, and that's the stuff that's important to me. And value those people. And I'm so much happier not being talked about every day or kind of having to deal with any of that. So yeah, I feel like that is going to be a trend in esports, like the entitlement of the fans to feel like they're what they want the broadcast is what they should get. That's the problem. The gatekeeping and telling people they're not good enough, and you're just going to just touching the Dota stuff. They're going to kill their own game. Like they are going to like eventually bleed it out. If you do not let new thriving talent to come in and bring some fresh life into it, the people that are already there are going to get older and move away, and slowly but surely your game will die because you haven't let the new people in. Like it's really simple, guys. Like if you are so venomous and vitriolic towards the new people that have worked really hard and are categorically doing a good job, and it's just not to your taste, then you're part of the problem and you're going to fuck up your own game, like CSGO is doing right now. Is cannibalizing, I've been calling it, like eating yourself on the inside out by pushing out good members of the community and shitting on good projects with good intentions.
Yeah. Well, so you talk me through what it is you now do. I obviously know. I did do some research, and obviously I do know you personally. And here comes Sam. So this is good. Right now then. Right now then, guys.
Okay, before we answer that, why didn't let's flip it around.
Right.
What do you think I'm doing?
Well, so Henry, my understanding is that you have founded a NFT company, which NFT obviously stands for non-fungible tokens. I know that much.
Do you know what non-fungible token means?
No, they're JPEGs, aren't they? So, thank you, Sam. You know, and what they're doing are essentially selling virtual artwork items that have an inherent value within a economic ecosystem, let's say, and their value, depending on scarcity and other qualities that this artwork has, can scale upwards. And you're essentially building a trading network for that artwork. And I'll give you the name as well, because it's fungible. You say fungi, but I say fungi. How do I?
There's American, and I deal with just Americans pretty much in this business.
Yeah, so, right.
Fungi.
Yeah. So but okay. So fungible fungi.
Fungible fungi did sound better. Let's go fungible fungi.
Yeah, because that's what it is. Fuck, you know. I mean, I don't commit to this, but fuck Americans when it comes to the English language. Fungi, if they ever become the authority on the English language,
fungible fungi. Absolutely. Go on.
So well, I mean, I think that's a fair description. So
no, it is.
So tell me why you've gone into a project like that, and then we'll get into why it's all controversial.
So I've been actively trading Bitcoin and crypto since 2014, like a long time. I've been a very early adopter. So for me, it's always been a hobby. It's always been something I consider like a job of mine outside of commentary. Like I've never made a big deal talking about it, to be honest with you, but it's something like trading daily and investing in new projects, something I've done for a long time, and it's made me more money than casting ever did. So for me, it was like something like an industry I really understand, and something I think is a revolution. The cryptocurrency in general, as much as there's bad news going around and there are a lot of problems with it as well, it's a revolution, and there's going to be a bumpy ride. Same story of NFTs. It's a revolution in a different sense. They are under the same umbrella. So you've got cryptocurrency like at the top, but then at the top of the pyramid, and you've got NFTs, which is kind of part of the same family. For me, NFTs are so much more interesting because we're empowering individuals, we're empowering artists, we're giving people a way to monetize their own business in a creative and really exciting way that it's not gatekept at all. Like the NFT community is some of the, like, I'm sure Sam can comment on this, like some of like the nicest people you can really work with this industry, because everyone's anonymous. No one has any expectations to be a person. Everyone's hiding behind a cartoon monkey or a goat or something like that, right? And people are just nice to each other. And
I feel like Sam's been hiding behind a cartoon monkey for as long as I've known him, to be honest.
So for me, it's like it's so exciting to see people taking control of their lives and changing the world at the same time through this technology. For example, like we raised $175,000 for the Beckley Foundation to contribute towards psychedelic drug research and drug policy reform globally. And tell me, whenever any other industry where I could generate that sort of cash for that sort of cause, you know, like a topic that has a stigma attached to it, people don't want to go near, and like we're able to support counterculture and people that don't necessarily want to subscribe to like drugs are illegal and stuff like that. We want to be able to talk about these things and have healthy conversations and art and these sort of topics are being addressed with NFTs. It's all decentralized. Governments can't shut it down. They can't stop the conversations being had. And it's just artists that are winning. It's the most beautiful thing, especially with what we're doing. Like the guy who's behind the mushrooms, the artist himself, he's called Elzy, and he's one of the most talented guys I've ever met. He does all the artwork, he does all the video edits, does everything himself. He's an absolute badass, and he gets the absolute lion's share of everything we make. And he's killing it right now. And I guess to answer your question, why people like what we're doing so much, like we are a really successful project at this point, it's because of the artwork so killer. And we've come up with a concept that kind of is symbiotic between catering towards people like artwork and collecting. So let's say you're a Pokemon guy, or you just like really nice 3D artwork, or you just like fantasy. We're covering you for that as well, but we're also covering an economic side as well. We're providing an ERC20 Ethereum token, which is generated with each mushroom. If you're not interested in that stuff, you don't have to be involved in it. But the idea is just holding a mushroom, you can generate passive income and use that towards buying stuff like cosmetic stuff for your mushrooms and stuff like that. Essentially, what you described is accurate. It's just NFT is such a broad term. It's difficult to really say like it's just a picture. For anyone who's not aware, if you haven't seen our ship, it's fully 3D generated, AI generated mushrooms that are all kind of designed from the ground.
They're all bespoke mushrooms, aren't they? Right?
Yeah, we've just
no two mushrooms are alike, what I've been told.
Exactly. So we've just released our Genesis collection, which was kind of like, see that as like rounds of investment, essentially. That's for like big buyers that really believe in the project. They can invest a significant amount in the Genesis project. It probably cost you about, what was it? It was 4.2 Ethereum or 420 Ethereum to buy one of the Genesis ones. It works out at current prices like 16K, something like that. So you could buy one of these, but the idea was they came with so many perks and benefits that you would have these one-of-one mushrooms, only 100 available, and it was setting the standard for the public release that's happening next month. So we put those out there for, like I said, $16,000 each. We sold out the 100 in 4 minutes. And it was one of the fastest sales this year in NFTs. And in terms of what we did, we had a one-off auction after that. One of our magic mushrooms, one of the absolute holy grail pieces, went on individual auction for the Beckley Foundation, the psychedelic research, $175,000. So that was kind of a proof of concept of what we can do in terms of raising funds for philanthropy, and also showing that people value these mushrooms. They see them as high value products. We have 10,000 coming out next month, which are fully AI generated. Like the first collection was handcrafted, like bespoke, like you said. The next one are using those traits, but it will be generated by the computer. So you have a different top, middle, bottom, base.
So procedurally generated mushrooms.
Procedurally generated mushrooms, but using the traits you saw in the Genesis collection. So all the amazing mushrooms, taking their bits and pieces, the good things from those, and putting them in there. And that sale is happening on the 1st of November. And we're super excited. Like the community we've gathered, like we started this company 2 months ago. I guess I don't even know if I told you about this, Rich, how it started. I guess it's a good story. We'll get into it. I was at Frankie Ward's wedding 2 months ago maybe, and as you can imagine, there was a lot of esports people.
Were you shouting at us saying you don't know anything about Dota 2?
I wasn't that day, unfortunately. I saved that for Reddit.
Yeah, good man.
That's the best place for it, I reckon. So Frankie Ward's wedding, and Richard Sims, right? Halo commentator.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He, funny enough, was sat at my table with me, and we got talking, and I told him like, oh yeah, like he's like, so what are you doing now? The Cloud9 stuff's over. I said, well, just trading Bitcoin, just kind of crypto in general. That's like, I'm having a sabbatical, like just working on what I want to do next, but just that's how I'm tying myself over. And it's like, oh, really? Like, do you know anything about NFTs? And it's like, I've been dabbling in them the last year or so, like just kind of exploring the technology and what people are doing. I've all thought it's pretty underwhelming. Like, I'm not saying all NFTs are great, by the way, just to be clear, that I think a lot of the projects are pretty.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
Overrated, and some of them like don't deserve the praise they get, and some bad actors involved in the space as well. But the good projects, the ones worth talking about, there's some really awesome stuff, and there's some stuff you can do that hasn't been explored yet, and we're still. Consider this, Richard. Right now, we have 10 million people kind of global working in cryptocurrency that hold a wallet and work with it. In NFTs, we have 300,000 people. It's such a new industry right now, a new space. And it's one people don't really understand, but one that's really going to revolutionize the kind of art world, especially as we know it. Already, we're seeing like big auction houses like Christie's take on huge $1 million bids on Banksy NFTs and
Banksy made his own NFT, didn't he?
Yeah,
painted a mural on a wall, took a picture of it, demolished it, and then
exactly. So that's for me, that's a bit more of the bullshit side of it. That's more of a PR stunt.
It's a bit that felt very pretentious.
It is like, and it's just showing like just to show like people like, oh, but couldn't I just take this? No, it's been destroyed. It's a PR stunt and one that worked out really well for him. I think it was still positive, but it's like, I don't know, NFTs, like, let me ask you this, Rich, like, what do you think is the main kind of criticisms that NFTs get that you hear? Like, as someone of an outsider, what do you hear about them that kind of comes up the most?
Well, so just before I do, let me bring in Sam, right? Because I want to explain why Sam's here. So tell me about your experience, Sam, with NFTs.
So, because I also got involved in crypto early, but because I didn't have like a lot of investment at the time, I was like a shit coin specialist. I like to try and get the quick pump and dumps to get out there. So when I saw
Elon's bag,
when I saw NFT, I thought the exact same thing. So basically, I was looking at NFTs, like Henry was saying, with use cases, what interested me. So obviously the art has to be good, but it also has to have a reason why I'm buying it instead of just right-click saving the JPEG. So if I hold your NFT and that puts me in contention with a lot more, for example, his sport token, if I get a free token with it, if I get passive income, if I also put into giveaways as part of like the percentage of trade, that's what interests me. That's what otherwise I'm just like flipping NFTs. If it's just the art and the art is cool, sure, I'll buy and sell, but
yeah, and that's super viable as well. Like, people should do what the fuck they like in NFTs. There's no shame in flipping them. Like, if there's good artwork out there and you get involved in a whitelist, you should flip it, make some money. Like, there's good money to be made. People are willing to pay for it. And yeah, like, I think that's a super interesting way to kind of look at it. So many different people doing different things and having different objectives. Some are massive collectors and buying one-of-one art pieces. Some guys are trying to make passive income by collecting all the NFTs that generate tokens. Some are trying to collect the super rare traits of a certain collection, thinking it will blow up one day. They're buying super cheap now, and in 2 years' time, it'll be the #1 collection and stuff like that. There's something for everyone. And it's like I said, it's the artists that are really winning here. They're the ones that are kind of getting recognized for their artwork. They're actually getting absolutely paid like they should, like traditional artists. And it's just a really exciting, fast-moving space. And we're trying to be the ones that make the loudest noise and do the right moves and do things the proper way. Just to know that we're one of the few companies where if you go on our website, all of us are doxed, as it were. Like, all of our photos on there are full names. You won't see that with any other companies. You won't see that many other NFT projects where like out there showing like we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. Like,
that brings me to some of the criticism. So I'll list them in no particular order. One thing I'll pull your card on as well is when you said governments can't shut down crypto, can't shut down NFTs. I don't accept that premise at all. And I think that's one of the big things that's put front and center with crypto and NFTs has been this good thing. You can always get away with it. Trust me, if the pandemic has shown you anything, it's that what you think you know, you don't fucking know.
Okay, let me interject. China banned Bitcoin and cryptocurrency 2 months ago.
Huge dip, which everyone bought Bitcoin during,
and we just hit the all-time high yesterday. Sure, it will have an effect on the market initially, but still, you can't.
And they're going to start locking people up real fucking soon. Let's see who wants to hodl.
There's going to be bumps in the road the entire way, and it's going to be a lot of people that get fucked over, and people that have to pay tax they didn't realize, and there'll be lots of that stuff. But it's all part of the journey, Rich. Like, nothing like this was ever smooth. Like,
true.
People talk about scams and cryptocurrency and stuff like that, dude. Like, traditional currency has been used for scams since its inception.
Fiat currency in the stock market, mate. I'm on record. I've said it. The financial system is the biggest criminal conspiracy ever perpetrated on the human race.
People will scam, but there's money to be made. That's just it. That's it. Like, and there's people like that in NFTs. There's a lot of them, for sure. More than fiat currency, though, to be honest with you. So I'm trying to be one of the people that are fighting for good, doing stuff that we're trying to make a fucking awesome product that gives back to charities. We're trying to work to go towards carbon neutral as well. Like, every criticism that's being thrown our way, I will make it my life's work to show that this industry can be.
So this will probably shock you. One of my lists. I'm not really on that environmental problem bullshit. I almost feel that's like an American media obfuscation.
It is.
Because it's like, you're still letting big oil get away with all sorts of fucking shit.
It's just like that bullshit as well. It's like, you're tweeting me this from your iPhone in your house in LA on the power grid with your electric car that gets the power from the coal factory down the road, by the way. You can't escape this. You're so much in the system. Like, we're all doomed. Like, we can do what we can, but the NFTs are not the problem. If you focusing your energy towards that, the media has tricked you to doing that. The people that own the companies, the newspaper companies, they are tricking you to do that. They're scared of this technology. And
do you agree with that, Sam, about the
the environmental? All of a sudden, it only came out as soon as Elon Musk started pumping crypto and all. Like, it's terrible for the environment. Look, Elon Musk is evil again. He's killing the environment as well.
Scapegoat for it.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I kind of read it like that. As someone that knows absolutely fuck all about the space, the one thing I've got a good eye for is kind of like the timing of coordinated media trends.
Yep.
And certainly, as I said, it's still a fact that an overwhelming amount of the pollution that's being produced by, let's just say, America and China is produced by a handful of corporations. And when people start pushing this idea of, it's on you as an individual responsibility, sure, look, I'll turn my fucking lights off. I won't boil a full kettle. But the corporations surely have to be the ones that pay through the nose. You've got to get them carbon neutral first.
It's the people who drive the electric cars as well. They don't realize the thing that's actually killing the planet the most are lithium batteries right now. That's the absolute killer of the planet. Once they're used and done and they can't be used anymore, they go to landfill. They can't be recycled. They can't be used again. The demand, it's actually going to cause a world war with the demand of lithium cells that are not available right now. We're running out of them drastically. And everyone moving to electric cars is good in a way, I suppose, but it's still, the power comes from somewhere. Just because you're not doing it from a petrol station, not directly putting the fumes in, that power had to come from somewhere. And anyway, I agree with you, but I don't think it's as bad as what people making out. I'm not saying we're positive effects on the environment, but
feels like a nominal contribution.
I'm still getting ready to announce working with an organization where we'll be planting X amount of trees, something very soon that I'm working on, but I will fight it anyway. Like, I would do it to appease them, just to give them nothing else to talk about. That's that stuff. Like, that's what
right. Criticisms. Regulation, lack of. The anonymity. Fucking hell, why can't I speak all of a sudden? Contributing towards the enablement of scams. The lack of age gating.
Not true. Not true. That's not true. You can't even like. If
not for you, maybe.
Ethereum, no. To even buy Ethereum, like Sam can back me up on this, to even go through the process of getting Ethereum, you have to verify your fucking passport, driving license, and proof of address as well.
It's certainly harder to buy crypto than to gamble, I would say.
Exactly. Like, you can definitely make it happen. There's always a way, but to categorically get your credit card set up to buy crypto, you can't use your mom's credit card. You have to have the passport, the proof of address, and you have to be email verification, the same name. They'll call you up. You take a selfie with your driving license. So for just people to jump for those hoops, I do disagree with either you or the criticism you're pointing out. I forgot.
Fair enough.
And it's just like,
we can drop
it's
that
definitely
one.
accessible, but like, that's not a problem in terms of regulation. Yeah, and it's happening. It's happening all the time. The SEC in America are fucking people over. You can't make a transaction in Bitcoin right now without paying tax. Like, they've locked that down. It's happening. And most people in the space are saying you should pay your taxes, like, for the good of everyone.
But NFTs get through that specific loophole, correct?
Right now, it depends. It depends on the NFT. If it's generating passive income, it's a gray area. It depends what kind of passive income that is. If your passive income can be sold directly to an exchange like Coinbase or Binance, that's a security. That's something people can tangibly turn into cash. If it's something like we're doing, where it's just like cosmetic changes and it kind of helps just within the ecosystem of what we're doing and the game we're making. I don't think I mentioned that. We're making a game to go with the mushrooms as well.
Yeah.
That spore token is not to be sold for monetary gain. It's to provide you
a passive income,
the metaverse is what we create. That's the buzzword right now.
I've heard Zuckerberg using that one a lot.
Yeah, I hate it so much. People ask about it all the time, but that's the only word I could find on reach into the dark.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And then the other criticism, which is probably where we should have started, because we've done some like high level technical shit here, but let's is just that it's fucking stupid, it's fucking silly, and the premise of that is predicated on it's the stock, like crypto and especially NFTs. It's essentially the stock market for morons. And whenever you have a high influx of morons, like we did with penny stocks in the real fiat currency stock market, a la Wolf of Wall Street, you're going to see morons get finessed. And it's actually this finessing of morons that makes people the money, not any inherent value to the product itself.
If you're a moron spending money you can't afford to lose, like I'm sorry, there's a very classic term of do your own research and making sure you're only investing money you can cash.
Honoring promises is important, though, surely.
With promises to what?
Well, so I mean, a lot of these cryptocurrencies,
that's why I'm saying crypto's bullshit. Like in a way,
right.
which like I think crypto, like you're right, the crypto's run by a cryptocurrency. That's why it's different to NFTs. Let's get into that quickly.
Yeah,
that's made by a company, a conglomerate, normally coming behind it, presenting a white paper, having a round of investment privately. Nothing's really announced, and you're hoping they, like you said, they have a roadmap.
They're set up like Ponzi schemes, essentially.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. A lot of them have been fucked a lot of people over, and even to this day, it's happening a couple of times a month for sure. Big cases of it. But it's just because, like you said, like if people can get away with it and they are anonymous, like there's going to be scams, and that's why it's very important to like follow projects and do your research and make sure you speak to the people that are running the project, get an understanding of what they're doing, what they've worked on before. And it's your own money, it's your own capital. Like you have no one to blame. It's a decentralized system. If you get fucked over, you have no one to complain to. There's no email to send to someone. It's your own good. Like people have to understand the blockchain is decentralized. It's not attached to anyone. If you fuck up a transaction, your money gets lost. You can't get it back. There's no refunds. And that's something like the whole market could crash. If America says that no exchanges are allowed to cash out to bank accounts, if the government shut that down, everything's going to crash and people are going to try and sell. And a lot of people will lose money, especially if you're investing in shit coins like Elon's cum or something, whatever it was.
You got any of Elon's cum, Sam?
I didn't get any cum bags, like, unfortunately.
If you're buying that sort of stuff, you deserve to get burned, Rich. I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for buying shit coins. Like, fair enough, a lot of money to be made, but if you get burned buying them, it's like a casino. Like, it's very much like a casino. You're probably pulling the arm down and hoping it shoots off, and you've done your research the best you can, and it's going to work out.
Which is it's another reason that I've always had issues with it. Like, just to make it clear from where I'm coming from. Well, as you know from private conversations, and as Sam knows, I'm not anti-crypto. I'm sort of anti this idea that ever global governments are going to allow us to have decentralized currency and sort of like exist outside of the system. It's a utopian dream that you simply will not be allowed to achieve, because we live in a dystopia.
I disagree. I feel like they would be stupid to ban it, because you'll see countries that are filling their own treasuries in the next 5 years with Bitcoin. You can pit my
but then
the house on it, and they ban it, they have to declare.
It's all going to be it's not going to be in place of fiat currency, when the mainstream starts offering crypto as sort of a genuine thing you can use societally speaking, it'll almost certainly be backed by fiat currency, and it's going to be a way to basically offset compound inflation by the constant printing of new money. And then we get into what's going to happen when the Federal Reserve and the International Monetary Fund start realizing, wait a minute, these governments can, they can generate crypto instead of accepting our printed cash. This is some high level shit. And this is why I don't see the utopia that a lot of crypto enthusiasts push onto people. I think they surely can't believe it, because we live in a dystopia.
I agree, and I think it's just going to be an ongoing battle. I can't say categorically everything's going to be fine. Like, who knows? A fucking bomb could just be dropped somewhere, and that's the end of humanity as we know it anyway. Anything could happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a doomsday scenario for sure.
There's your commercial right there. Invest in crypto. A bomb could go off tomorrow. You've done it. You've won me over.
Do you know what I mean? That people could, we can sit here all day and talk about all the things that could go wrong and could happen. I want to be one of the people that are remembered for doing good in this space and showing people it's not a scam. And I'm holding myself accountable. Every announcement, everything that goes wrong, we have the most transparent company in the entire world. You can put my reputation on the line there. Go on our Discord, and I'm constantly putting my name out there, and it's like I'm accountable for the whole thing. I accept that responsibility. We have 22,000 people on our Discord right now, 10,000 people ready and waiting to buy our shit next week. If that fucks up and it goes wrong, Rich, fuck Cloud9, that would be a frying pan compared to the absolute carnage of fire waiting for me if this went wrong. And it actually happened as well. It hasn't all been an amazing trip. Thankfully for me, since I moved to NFTs, the whole esports community turned that back on me. I lose about 1,000 followers a week, and when I do tweet stuff, even a fucking charity post gets $200,000, it got 50 likes. I don't get any interaction anymore. People seem to pretend I wasn't.
I'll just get Sam in again. Sam, is my view on all of this tech? Am I just the
way I look at it is basically as far as cryptocurrencies and altcoins go, they're all a startup company, right? So if I was a startup, you didn't know who I was, I had no history in this business, I came to you and said, give me your money, I want to start a business, and you give me your money. Am I supposed to feel bad that guy's run away with your money? Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well,
You've got to, if you're investing in a business, you've got to do some research. Like, and also maybe I do give that guy money, but I'm not going to be upset when it's like, oh, that guy ran away, who I didn't know who he was, and he had no experience. I took that risk and it didn't pay off.
But that's a bit like saying, do you have any sympathy for a little old lady that gives her fucking credit card details to the Nigerian prince?
The level of entry is so much higher. Like the thing you've got to do to right. So say if I wanted to buy an altcoin, I've got to go through all that process to buy the original coin. Then say if I need to change it to another coin, I've then got to go to a decentralized exchange that Ethereum for a different coin. Then I need to hold that. So like, it's not like I just go to a website, click buy, and then my money's gone. Yeah, I've got to like actively think about, okay, I need to change this into this. Now I need to change this into this. I need to pay an outrageous gas fee.
I need to be available at 6 p.m. on this date for 5 minutes before it sells out, etc.
If you make a snap decision, it's still going to take you at least 5 minutes to just go through the transaction. So even if you go, I'm buying now, you still have to wait and like, okay, I have to change everything over. Do I really want to do this? Like, again, and that's fine. People do that, but you have got to be prepared that there's a decent chance you're going to lose that money.
We can't just keep saying, what about the morons? What if they get involved? Yeah, the morons are going to lose their money. Like, that's just by their very nature. We can't.
But also, there's a lot of fucking millionaire morons too.
Exactly, like, that's true. That's they've made their money through Dogecoin. Like, no hate to them. Like, fair play. If you've made your money and you managed to get in one of those funny coins or shit coins, then fair play. I respect the fuck out of you. Like,
yeah. Well, so I mean, like, I get that too. I mean, I've always like the thing that annoys. I mean, crypto enthusiasts are generally insufferable pricks, and especially the ones that have been successful. I hate these YouTube channels where you see like, Big Don's crypto tips or whatever the fuck. That might actually be one. I hope it isn't. I
think it is. No, it is, I think.
Oh, Christ. No, I didn't. I don't follow it. I swear it's not a personal thing if you are called Big Don. Whoever Big Don is.
There's definitely a Don. I'm not sure if it's Big
Right, well, whatever. Anyway, Small Don. No one's going to call themselves that. Right, Small Don's crypto tips. And what he does is he's basically just been in the right place, right time, bought some shit coin, it blew up due to basically people manipulating the market, because the market's super easy to manipulate, as you said. One Elon Musk tweet, and it's everyone makes millions.
Let's be clear, the stock market does exactly the
same
thing.
Yes. Oh, mate, don't get me started on the stock market.
And an opaque way, instead of it being, at least what you're saying is true and it's transparent. We can all point to those tweets and say,
yeah. And I think one of the reasons, honestly, again, why the sort of media like was being derisory about stuff like, fucking the Dogecoin and the GameStop stock, there's this backdrop of basically, we're financial experts, leave it to us, you don't need to know. And in fact, if you do want to get involved in the stock market, you better do it through like a hedge fund or some expertise, because leave it to us. And of course, obviously, a lot of these groups, as we keep finding out, they're fucking Ponzi schemes, or they're pocketing money, or they're doing fucked up deals, they're manipulating markets, they're using insider trading. Look at how many politicians got rich during the pandemic. So mate, I'd fucking torch Wall Street tomorrow.
I'd rather it's the fucking the hackers of the internet and the scam artists of the internet getting the money than the fucking those people.
Well, I mean, I'd even go so far as to agree with you on that point. But I do think sort of the existence of one landscape that finesses idiots to exist and make money, it doesn't justify the existence of another. And that's my real fear about this. It's already flooding into spaces, particularly esports, which I guess we'll segue into now. It's flooding into esports, which has already been grifted to fucking oblivion by everyone. Skins, casinos, case opening fucking websites, even the games developers now, open your cases. Sam's a chronic FIFA addict. Like, the reason he basically works with me is because he needs the money to buy a fucking golden Steve McManaman or whatever the fuck he's on. And it's like
it's a prime icon, Steve Gerrard. Actually, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, mate, sorry. So the problem I think you're always going to have trying to legitimize this in these people's eyes is they are so weary of getting fucked over.
We'll come back to esports definitely, but let's just touch on that FIFA topic, right? Let's just talk about that for a second. So Sam, you open these packs every year, right? And it's like every single year you have to do it. Is there a new ecosystem you have to go into, like from each FIFA title?
It starts again every year.
So let's just talk about that, for example. Let's say if NFTs were embraced by EA and they're brought into this FIFA ecosystem, and instead of it being inclusive to the FIFA title that year, they lived on the blockchain, meaning they could be used not just in FIFA and every FIFA title that ever exists. They could also be used on trading markets. They could be used in collaborations with other games. So think about that you win an online cup or you get the best player. Instead of it just being like valuable within the FIFA ecosystem, you can take that to OpenSea, which is like the eBay of NFTs. You could take that FIFA card you unbox and actually you have some real life value with that. Instead of EA pocketing the cash and scamming you every fucking year saying, oh, we're resetting the system, there's a new stats and players, you get to keep everything and keep its like history and its value from each title. And that's the same thing with like New World or World of Warcraft. Let's say you world first the big boss at the end, your guild does. Instead of it being stuck in the auction house on World of Warcraft, it's on the blockchain. It's available as an NFT. You can sell that collaboratively in game on OpenSea as your guild and take the $100,000, reinvest it into your next mission and work out where you're going next. That's the way NFT should be used in gaming. And it's more of a scam now what they're doing in traditional gaming with loot boxes and resetting the ecosystem every single year. It's already fucking bad enough they're releasing a new FIFA every year. Like the games industry has slowed down so much, like to the point where we're just doing sequels and we're not even doing good ones. We're just slightly tuning the graphics and adding a new feature. The fact that that's still allowed and no one's outraged about that. No one's even talking about that. And it's like, how we've been accepting that since 1994 FIFA's been coming out, and that's just fine. They get to fuck us over every year, and so does Call of Duty, and we're like, oh, that's just what they do. Yeah, that is what they do. It doesn't mean it's right. And NFTs will change that. It's going to take one company, just like mobile gaming did in 2010, to take over and start making more money than all of those people and taking advantage of blockchain technology. And I guess that kind of segues into, I know we're going to talk about a Steam.
So it is a good point. And Sam, you'll have to edit this in, mate, in the overlay. So this is a good little project for you while I'm at the major. But yeah, there was a story, and this actually is an interesting one. Steam has removed NFT games from the platform, and even though the link I've got to this is from like NME.com, New Musical Express, I'll just read from that. It's probably been reported elsewhere. It's just a link I have to hand. Yeah. But basically, they've added new rules that say you shouldn't publish applications built on blockchain technology that issue or allow exchange of cryptocurrencies or NFTs. And obviously, a few game creators have, lashed out. And that basically their understanding is that Steam's, again, quote, Steam's point of view is that items have value and they don't allow items that can have real world value on their platform.
The funny thing is, Rich, they invented the NFT basically with CSGO.
Well, I mean, CSGO skins, right? I know.
They invented the fucking that's been used since its inception to be sold externally and have real life value.
Yeah, and what's really weird about that is they didn't shut down exchanges, like, things like OP skins and stuff like that basically operated with impunity. We know there was like essentially money laundering and all sorts going on.
It's just an easy move just to shut it down and just say, right, until all this has actually got legs to it, it's like, we understand it, shut it down. And that's the right thing to do, because there's probably a lot of scams on there running his games and doing all sorts of shit. Until I'll tell you one company to look out for.
Okay.
They're called X Populous. They've got lots of esports background in them. They're working with lots of big streamers. They're going to do the first big esports kind of NFT streamer game that will be coming out soon. Like that's the stuff like people are going to start taking notice of. It'll be that will be the thing that people start to see the shift and how valuable and how much demand there is for these sort of projects. And if you get the right people on board, you can do some crazy shit. And I think Steam it's the right choice, and one they will go back on. Like I said, I expect within 5 years, all of these big publishers, Activision, Ubisoft, Steam, to some extent, like they'll be embracing this technology, and they'll say, oh, we've really looked forward to intertwining this into our ecosystem. No, aka you've realized you have to move on because your system is dated and shit, and you realize there's a load of money to be made, and you're going to spin it in a way that sounds like it was your idea all along. Even though you're going to steal the idea of like X Populous, you're going to steal their framework and what they're doing, and you're going to just claim it as your own. And I think they will do that. I think it's inevitable. The stuff I talked about in FIFA, World of Warcraft, New World, that sort of stuff, those games just have
But there is no financial interest in those. When you've got like essentially a closed economy like Steam doing, I use that term obviously. I know the reality from covering skins for years, or like EA, where they can fucking grift Sam into oblivion every year, where he's got to spend like £1,000 every year guaranteed just to have a competitive team. Right? Like, why would they ever adopt this technology? In fact, why wouldn't they lobby against it?
Because it's like, you have to bear in mind, when you trade an NFT, the creator gets a percentage back as well. Every trade, EA, even if it's off grid, every trade EA would get 2.5% of every trade. If you allow people to have control and have an ecosystem that's actually healthy and doesn't fuck people over every year, people will be trading on it a lot. They'll use it and it'll be alive and active forever, because that's how the blockchain works. When you deploy a contract on the blockchain, it can't be removed. It's done. And there'll be a system where these games can actually have longevity and last longer than a year and still bring out new titles. They can still do that and have all the previous content being brought over. And it's one of the things that I'm sure it's a conversation about right now. How do we bring all the CSGO skins over? How do we make a new game and have all these same skins, Richard? Like, with all the stickers on them, all the scratches. And we've got, you're just to do the same models in a new game. Like, that's a nightmare. If you did an NFT form, it could just be brought over and be an interpretation of it. It could just be like everyone's wallet straight over there. And they've got a nightmare now. They want to bring out a new CSGO. The thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars people have invested on their knife, their rifles over the years, over 10 years. That's a nightmare. And that's why traditional gaming models right now doesn't make sense for all these reasons I just stated. That's like the number 3 kind of companies we talked about, all having their issues, fucking people over every year. And it's just like, to go back to that original Steam thing, I think it's just more precautionary than anything. It's a technology that's not being utilized in mainstream games right now. Easy to shut it down and wait to see how the...
I mean, they shut down a bunch of scam games as well, like ones that just generate cards, because you can sell a card on their internal market for like 2-3 cents.
Okay,
and you get 1 cent. And so people were like bot farming cards from these like dodgy shit games that weren't really games. I mean, it's mad. I mean, it's like I say, to be honest, the idea that Valve aren't the company that are more interested in looking at blockchain does seem a bit weird to me, because like you say, I think one of the early ecosystems was all of this, CS skin shenanigans.
That has every characteristic of an NFT infrastructure without it being on the blockchain. Every single one, in terms of traits, rarities, being like specific to your account, being tradable. It is an NFT, apart from it's not on the blockchain. Like that's funny why they wouldn't embrace the technology. But
Sam, we'll talk. We're going to segue into talking about esports. There's been a lot of NFT sponsorships and a lot of crypto sponsorships. I mean, I think it's gone mainstream. I mean, ESL are even sponsored by Coinbase right now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but a lot of people in esports are resistant to it because, they see it as a scam. What do you think as an esports fan?
Well, I'm educated on the topic. I don't know. It feels like if they were advertising the stock market, would you call that a scam? I guess the stock market, like, for example, if you take the NASDAQ, that is more curated. I guess that's the argument. But Coinbase is extremely curated. You're not going to buy a coin that's a scam on Coinbase.
But let's say more like organizations, like, for example, OG, Team Secret. They went...
TSM?
Yeah, TSM. Well, I'm sure, but the reason I'll just mention those two is in Dota 2, they were sponsored by a company which made a bunch of promises. It was M1 Eden, I think it was. DM Script. M1 Eden was another org that were sponsored by them. And, DM Script was the big sponsor. It went out, it had all this legitimacy. And then, it turns out it looks to be a bit scammy. Let's say the website was taken down. I think someone robbed the wallet, and then they followed it up, and then they were selling their NFTs. It's same orgs. I think it was OG and Alliance this time. Team Secret actually criticized them publicly, I think it was. And so, a lot of people are now saying, look, this stuff's just too destructive. There's too many scams. And so when big orgs are legitimizing them, they want to pull out. So I'll just get Sam's thoughts on that, because I agree. Yeah, obviously, if you advertise the NASDAQ, no one would think anything, and people are getting grifted on that probably, on a daily basis. But it does feel to me like a lot of these people just get to peace out into the night with fucking millions, and no one holds the orgs that vouched for them accountable.
Yeah, but it's the same old story in esports with how many dodgy sponsors we had. Now it's crypto, sure. Before it was skins trading, before like it was unregulated betting. No one gave a fuck then. All of a sudden,
Well, I mean, we've also got
what's
that one that ESL is sponsored by that betting company that's dodgy as fucking illegal in a bunch of countries. I don't want to say because I can't remember off the top of my head, but there is one that they've been sponsored by, and people are picking up Roobet sponsorship right now as well. So I mean,
people don't take the money, Rich. Like people have to understand the sales teams of these orgs and these TOs, like they'll take everyone's money. But signing up, to answer your question, signing up with companies like Coinbase, that is the most regulated company in the crypto space. Like there is no problem working with those. Same with FTX. They signed the biggest deal, I think, with TSM. It was like what, $400 million for 3 years or something. That's a really legit deal. FTX are a really fucking legit exchange. Like that's people that understand this space and can maneuver their way correctly through it and work with the right companies will get the highest pay and they will get the biggest deals. And if you're signing up with those shit companies, like you said, and you haven't done your research, like just to note, OG and I think Alliance now part of the Socios umbrella, which is a very, very legit company. They have coins for Barcelona, Juventus, 76ers, like all these huge sports teams around the world. They have like 200 teams.
What type of penalties do you think there should be though when you essentially vouch for like a fucking scam and your followers, your fans buy into it?
I guess I don't know enough
because there's never any punishments. That's why I think people are so aggrieved by it all.
Yeah, if you're actively encouraging people to take part in something like that, that's true. You're talking about a very specific thing where someone signed up for a scam, sold us partnership support to a scam or a company that got scammed. I don't know, but like if the sales team at the TO or the org themselves, like I said, haven't done their own research on the place, yeah, they should be accountable. I don't know what kind of apology those companies put out there, but they did sort it out. They did move to the socials platform, like I said, but I never saw their PR response. I don't know how bad it was, but yeah, being held accountable.
Well, silence mostly.
Silence.
Yeah, okay, they all kill it with silence.
Like I said, like that's people getting involved. They don't understand it, and that's a shame. That's what I'm trying to battle against. I'm trying to show people this doesn't have to be a scam. If the right people are involved and they have the right product and they have the right passion, like it can be good. It can be fine, especially if you know who's involved. And I hope people would trust me to that sense. But yeah, I get it why there is a lot of like precaution and people worried about it. And like that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change that perception, and hopefully it will take time, but I want to just do all the right moves and not be too loud about it. I've even stopped tweeting, really, to be honest with you. I will just keep making these moves and keep raising money for charity and creating awesome fucking projects. And hopefully people will see some worth from them in the future. And I hope we can continue to champion artists and make sure they get paid for their work and they are the ones that get the biggest bags from this experience. And that's something that's super important to us. I'm so proud of what we've done. I have no guilt on my conscience about any of this. I am super happy with the charities we're working with, all the good work we're putting out there. So I hope more projects will kind of embrace that methodology as well. I know there's a lot of bad actors, but crypto and NFTs, just to be clear, are different spaces.
Yeah.
Venn diagram for sure, but they are different.
We'll round out on talking about, again, your project. We'll end on that. Sam, you are my resident NFT appreciator. Yeah. What do you think of Henry's mushrooms?
I saw the first one I saw, I think Henry probably retweeted it, was the Bitcoin fungi that was walking. I was like, those look so sick, but I immediately knew I wouldn't be able to afford those, mate, because like if you look at the volume traded, it's like 1.2 thousand ETH, which is amazing already. But like these are the first 100 initial release, right? And then all the degenerate ones are based on these characteristics.
Yeah. They take one piece of like each one and like the AI what was the word, procedurally generates it.
Yeah. No, they look sick, mate. They're like some of the highest quality.
I'll tell you as well, right? Henry, right? Think about how long I've known Henry. He's such a cunt, Sam. I said, give me one of them mushrooms, mate. Give me
you ain't getting one of these. Mushroom. You can get one of the 10,000.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that's what he said. Okay, why wouldn't you give me a 16K mushroom after everything I've done for you?
Stop. As of this broadcast right now, I'm going to give you both a mushroom on the whitelist. You're both going to be involved in the whitelist after this. And I want you to, at least this mushroom, as we talked about, will be valuable. I want you to give me a proper verdict when you reveal the mushroom and you've experienced the ecosystem a bit. You can sell it. You can do whatever you want with it. Like, Sam, you want to flip it, make a lot of money, Fine by me, kid. But like, tell me your experience of it, and you guys can give me an honest review next time we talk. What happened? How about that?
Yeah, all right. And so look, we'll put it here. I mean, look, I think that like I don't understand it. I'm a boomer. All right, so
Sam will hold your hand for this.
Yeah. And listen, but the one thing I do know is that, you know, I'm a pretty open-minded guy, even though I've been pretty closed off to crypto and the NFT stuff. You know, as you know, with the reporting I do, I only have a tendency to see the bad shit. And I have a tendency, my brain understands all of the pathways that people can do bad shit. And so when I see industries that definitely seem to be potentially exploitative, let's say, and one of the easiest things to exploit is ignorance. You know, it makes me recoil, and I'm sure I'm not alone, and I'm sure a lot of people. So why is there not a sort of bigger push for, like, you know, because I almost feel this is deliberate. I think people don't want to necessarily educate people about this because it diminishes the value of the people that have got the knowledge and therefore their ability to generate money for themselves.
I disagree. Like, someone who's very involved in Twitter, like crypto Twitter, crypto NFTs, crypto Twitter, NFT Twitter. Someone who's involved in both of those, like, no influencers going out there. Like, honestly, maybe Sam can back me up on this. No one's going to put themselves out there and go, buy this. Like, this is the one. They'll say, like, I'm buying this right now, like, for these reasons. Do your own research, because no one wants to put themselves out there. Like this.
Well, I do remember our mutual associate Mo getting fucking wrecked with BitConnect.
That's different. People have definitely done it in the past, like in the last couple of years, for sure. But people have woken up now and realized that's a really dumb thing to do. It's a really stupid thing to recommend people to buy shit.
Well, we just had the phase, and again, this is crypto.
Yeah,
not
like that was the nail in the coffin for sure. That showed people stop listening to influencers, especially gaming ones, about anything. To be honest with you, any political subject or anything important, don't go to gaming people. Like, no one cares about your opinion. Firstly, gamer person, but at the same time,
just wrecked my old YouTube channel, Henry. Cheers, mate.
You're different though. You're different, but you know what I mean. Like influencers, like streamers and YouTubers, like people have no insight to these topics whatsoever. You're listening to them on investment, especially. You're going to put your money where these people tell you. That's crazy. Like that's a really silly thing to do. If you ever get told by an influencer to buy something, they're probably getting paid to do it. So bear that in mind. And I think that is changing. Influencers are being more responsible because of the phase shit that happened. And it, like, fair enough, they're the ones holding us back. That kind of shit is holding us back. And hopefully it slows down.
Well, look, mate, I've known, as everybody knows, and we say every episode.
We do say it every episode.
Yeah, like, I've known you a long time.
I get younger every time.
Yeah. I've known you since you. I've known you since you were a fetus. And obviously, I know you hold yourself to the highest ethical standards. It'd be tough for us to be as good friends if that wasn't true. I certainly hope. Oh, nearly forgot, mate.
Go on.
I don't even know I should have done this way before, because now it just looks like it was advertised, and this is a terrible thing to end on. Maybe Sam will edit it, who knows, or maybe just leave it as it is. But somebody messaged me the other day, because I said, I'm going to do a show with Henry. And they said, yeah, well, you should totally ask him about his disastrous launch of his project. And I bet you won't, you coward. So there you go.
Okay, I'm definitely. I think I was about to go on and talk about that before I went on a tangent earlier.
Yeah. So sorry, mate.
I'm absolutely happy to talk about that. Yeah, that, you know, like, that's the funniest thing I find about esports is people love a public execution. They love seeing people fail. They want someone dragged out to the streets, hung in front of them, and they can all cheer and say, he failed. That's what it feels like. And that's the vibes I was getting that night as well. It was one of the most fucking traumatic nights of my life, to be honest with you.
I talked to you just after you were fucking exhausted, mate. You were tripping balls. You was from lack of sleep.
I hadn't slept for 3 days in that point. And thanks so much to the people, again, laughing at my mishaps and misfortunes. It's really appreciated. So yeah, what happened was we were such a hyped project. We had, I think, close to like 25,000 people like on the website trying to actively buy our shit. Like I said, when it did successfully come out, we sold out in 4 minutes. We were targeted by 4 separate hacking groups. They emailed us telling that they were coming that day. They cloned our website on the night of our launch. They redirected our URLs. They cloned our contract.
Like the IRA, you get a phone call, you know?
Yeah, no, they warned us. They came and warned us. They see it as like hunting season, you know? They want to warn us so we can try and build the fucking fort up, and they were still smashing down. And we did everything we could, but unfortunately for us, we had a developer that wasn't as capable as the one we have now. And if anything, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me the experience wasn't, but the outcome. It led me. The NFT community is so good. Like one of the biggest exchanges in the world, I wouldn't say who, that reached out to me and specifically like offered their dev stuff to me. They offered financial resource, they offered their stuff to help me and kind of get us off the ground. So without those people introducing me to like these amazing world-class developers, I wouldn't have the team I have now. And right now we have the absolute best team going in the space, like categorically, I think. So I'm super happy. Like it was a fucking nightmare, and unfortunately for us, it didn't cost us too much. There was a moment where we lost $450,000, and the hackers had the whole lot. They had the entire bag, and we weren't fully gonna, like. There was a point where it was like we were discussing how we're gonna reimburse. Like you said, if everything goes wrong, how do you get the money back? We were discussing whether I just pay everyone back out of my own pocket. I just pay everyone back. That was a conversation we were having. I was like, fuck it, boy. I'll just have to sell most of my shit, and we'll just have to pay them back out one by one. Like I said, it was like 16 grand a mushroom, right? This is the shit I was going through at home alone in London, just like haven't slept for 3 days. These hackers take us down on our launch. But we
I shouldn't laugh, mate, but the idea of you just going crazy trying to think about how you're going to pay $400,000 for mushrooms is fucking it's blowing my mind, mate.
It's blowing my mind. Isn't it? This is all dead honest truth as well. Like before this, like no one else in my team had the cash, the resources to provide that sort of stuff. So everything I was providing the cash flow for everything we were doing. At that point, like everything went wrong, and we had to cancel it. We gave everyone that was trying to enter that point, we gave them a whitelist, what I just gave to you. A whitelist basically allows you to claim a mushroom in the future for free. So we gave 6,700 people a whitelist to say sorry, to apologize. These mushrooms that are worth 16 grand, we gave them some for free. The 6,000 people to apologize, and we took a week off to kind of recalculate our defense systems and work all that shit out. And we came back with full force. Like I said, we sold out everything. Like it was one of those PR disasters. Like, do you know what they say? Like, no bad, like all press is good.
Yeah, all publicity is good. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was one of those things where we got so much like drama surrounding us, and so many people reaching out, feeling sorry for us or how badly it went, that we met all these amazing contacts, and I kind of got involved in this new marketing agency as well that are backing us. And it's like, if anything, that was the best thing that ever happened to us. So thank you for the question. It was a disastrous launch, but it couldn't have put us in a better position as to where we are today. So I think like, for some reason, like some way, somehow, whatever the bullshit happens to me in my life, I find a way to land on my feet, and I will never give up. I never fucking surrender. And I think it's one of my best qualities is being a hardworking motherfucker who'll never stop working till the job's done, not sleeping for 3 days, making sure everything is rectified, willing to put that money up myself. Like that's the level people get when they hire me in their company. That's what Cloud9 saw, etc. And Cloud9 will tell you as well, like I was the best manager they had. I think hands down. I throw myself my work. I'm very passionate and proud of the stuff I put out there, whether it's for commentary, whether it's being a GM, whether it's this stuff as well. And I hope people will see that reflected in what we put out there. It's really important to me. If you don't support me right now, if you're from esports, you think it's stupid, you think it's silly, you think it's a scam, fair enough. That's fair enough. You're entitled to your wrong opinion, but I will prove you wrong. I will prove you wrong, and you don't have to admit it. You will just know. You will know. And it won't take long as well. Give me a couple of months.
All right. Well, look, mate. I'm. Thank you for talking me through things I'm too old to understand, as always. And I hope it was an illuminating conversation for everybody else and a good conversation to have.
I'm glad we just ripped the Band-Aid off. We've done it now. We've talked about Cloud9. We've got it.
Yeah, it's over now, mate.
No hard feelings, lads. We're all moving on with our lives. Let's just leave it at that. We don't really have to go into it again.
And Sam, mate, I told you it'd be worth getting out of bed. You've just got a mushroom, mate.
Mushroom.
Free mushroom for Sam.
We'll hook that up after this. No worries.
All right, awesome. Well, look, there you have it, guys. So 50% Cloud9 and esports talk, 50% NFTs. I'm branching out. My content's always amazing, but it wouldn't be amazing without great guests like Henry and, of course, my producer Sam Mushroom Davies. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I don't know when the next one will be. Obviously, by the time this is released, I'm not going to be working in the middle of a major. Won't have time to record stuff. So yeah, just follow, like, comment, subscribe, whatever the fucking Zoomers do, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Richard Lewis Show. Until then, take care.